That's like one I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's even like wine fried herbs too, so we're good. All right, we're here and we're gonna talk about today herbal medicine. So using roots to treat the root problem, right? We're always trying to get to the root cause, find out what's causing. We don't want to treat symptomatically. And one of the things that kind of drives me crazy about herbs is that people will come to me and ask me about supplements, and I don't really particularly. I mean, listen, people are going to do what they're going to do. It's a free market. You buy whatever you want. But people always ask me, well, what do I think about curcumin, and I don't really think about curcumin at all. I think about the turmeric plant, because when you just take one part out of the plant, so curcumin has the anti-inflammatory effects, but there's other components to turmeric like zingiberine and other, something other than curcumin. But if you think about the whole plant, it is a root. It grows below ground, and one of the things that makes it good is that it actually leaches nutrients. So if you don't take the turmeric or the whole plant, you're just using curcumin, you're missing out on even just the nutrition of it, the minerals that it leaches
Right.
out. So iron and there's more vitamins and minerals in the plant itself. But curcumin itself is anti-inflammatory. But there are other parts to turmeric that have benefits to digestion, things to circulation, things to improve blood flow, but also improving the health of tissue, like the brain and health of the brain and stuff like that. And you see there's a huge incidence, there's a lower incidence of heart disease in people people from India who use it in a lot of their cooking. Apparently, not that they don't have heart disease, but there's less incident because of the amount of turmeric and all the stuff that they take in tip. But that's just one thing, right? That's just one plant. And what differentiates acupuncture or Chinese herbal medicine from other types of medicine is that you're using not one whole plant with all these properties, multiple plants together with a comprehensive strategy, right? To treat the root, not the one symptom, the inflammation and the pain, but what's causing the pain. Is it tightness in the muscle? Do you need to, have like a muscle relaxing effect and stuff like that? But that's the general the idea of why herbal medicine is different.
And that's why it's a medicine, right? You need to have some level of knowledge. It's not just about taking this plant here, because even if you try to be simple with like curcumin, it's like most people don't know, if you don't take curcumin with the purpurine, so you're just wasting your money, right? Because purpurine is what allows your body to actually absorb the turmeric. Your body actually doesn't absorb the curcumin that well. So by using it with purpurine, in this case black pepper, right, then you actually allow the body to take
absorption,
to actually take it. So like the point being that it's like people sometimes in the bid to do something for their health with a little bit of knowledge might not be doing something as effective because there's a little bit of other knowledge that they need for them actually utilize.
Well, they're not getting that knowledge because they get flooded with false information.
Exactly.
They're getting sold the hot new toy, which is off the shelf, curcumin, at the health food store, because the guy at the health food store told grandma to take it, right? And then it gets out there, but you're missing out. And I think when you mention piperine, which is part of pepper, right? If you think about overall, and this talks to just general food consumption in this nation, in the sense that like we can grab a cheap meal from McDonald's, which is garbage. But if you think about cooking overall, when you cook with herbs, right? And this is medicinal herbs. This is your everyday cooking, like your basils, your oreganos. And then we could talk about things like how, dandelions have an antibiotic effect. Pepper itself, if you think about pepper, if you don't put it in your cooking or put it on your food, it was used as a preservative. Why? Because it has an antimicrobial effect, because it slows down the progressing or the spoiling of bacteria on food. When you kind of eliminate all that stuff and you just give people a Whopper or a Big Mac, you're missing out over the control. So if you took your food like a whole, like we know at this point that food is the source of a lot of conditions and a lot of diseases, preservative, type 2 diabetes. But if you're getting garbage and you're not eating properly, then you're not getting the benefits of adding these things. We know oregano has also antimicrobial and all that stuff. But it's just an overall lack of information and the lack of knowledge within our daily health.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're circling around is it's like, if it was easy enough to just cherry pick one compound, whether it be a supplement or herb from India or China,
Right.
then everybody would be healthy.
Well,
But
supplementing's the problem, right?
Right.
Because what are you doing? You're tampering with something that's already pre-existing. Listen, 75% of all pharmaceutical products are plant-based, right? Not to talk about animal products or fungal products and things like that.
They're all
Yeah,
copies in
and
nature.
it doesn't make it better, it just makes it profitable and patentable, right? So if we
Right.
take herbs somewhere in between eating properly and pharmaceutical intervention to prevent type 2 diabetes, to help with pain, or we don't even use it for pain that much, we use stuff for topical, the things for like menstrual health and all that stuff, if it's missing from your diet and you're just grabbing things off the shelf, you know better than taking the pharmaceutical, right? At the very worst, you're not doing anything, at the very least, minimal effect. Right?
Mhm.
I get people telling me they're obsessed with inflammation. I feel inflamed. I mean, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
How does that manifest? Do you have pain from sitting at a desk? That's not from inflammation. That's more from muscle spasm.
But sometimes it's the tail wagging the dog, right? It's
Right.
like you get the product thinking it's going to help, and
Yeah.
then it says fights inflammation, so then now your mind is just like, okay, I need something else for inflammation, without looking at all these things happening in context, right? And I feel that what we're seeing and what you're talking about is that we're taking a bunch of things out of context and
Mhm.
not seeing how it applies. And then when they see a holistic practitioner, right?
Right.
By in the word holistic is looking at the whole,
Yeah.
right? They are breaching against that. Wait a minute, like you've been doing this for 20 years, you got the PhD, so you're going to see these individual things with more nuance. So you're going to say, okay, curcumin is good, but based on my knowledge and my
Mhm.
experience, and just first of all, like what Hippocrates, the father of medicine, but medicine be
Right.
like food,
Yep, yep.
right? All that stuff. So
Absolutely.
you're coming in with that mindset, and just you tend to be a foodie, right? And so
Well,
you know that
yeah.
historically, like a lot of our herbs, a lot of what we think of for flavoring are actually medicinal, right? Like the quick example, like a ham, right? You put
Mhm.
the honey on the ham and the pepper, but the honey is actually meant to take the worms out of the ham,
Mhm.
because they didn't have as good
Well, I hope you're buying
sanitation.
that ham without worms in it.
What?
That's
Well,
that's
the thing, see, that's what I'm
one
saying.
thing.
We're in the 21st century, but for the majority of human history,
Yeah.
your ham is
Or
going to have
salt
worms.
too. Remember, salt was like
Yeah.
salad. The word salad comes from salt for preserving food and keeping it around longer.
Exactly.
But I think it's a problem in terminology. When you say supplement, right, you mean that something's missing, so you're kind of adding, right? So if we just take like vitamins, of course, we're not eating a rainbow. I'll tell you personally, I'm not. I try to, but it's near impossible. But I still need to get vitamins A through, zinc, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
How do you do that? Yes, I understand a vitamin supplement is not the worst thing for you, but it's adding stuff. But if you take the word supplement and you can kind of compare it to one of the principles of Chinese medicine is to tonify. We don't have that word. It sounds weird, right? Because a tonic is like an old-timey medical terminology that nobody uses. But when we say tonify, is we're trying to boost or improve or supplement because something's missing, right? So comprehensively, that shouldn't be like a product. It should just be something staple, right? You shouldn't have to supplement everything that you eat.
Right.
Should be boosting and nourishing. But unfortunately, in today's society and the speed that we go at, it's not, and it kind of accumulates and it adds to problems. So people will come in, I have this problem, I have that problem, I'm twitching, I'm tired. I'm like, you get enough B and you get a B supplement, and all of a sudden their lives change.
Yeah.
Something simple like that.
Yeah, so you're essentially saying like the supplementation itself
Yeah.
is the indication of a problem. That our
Yeah.
food and our diet is not giving us what we need on its own.
Right.
And you're saying that, when people want to take these single products, you're actually just amplifying the product, because
Mhm.
why not get more bang for your buck? Take the entire plant, incorporate it into your diet, because you're already undernourished anyway, which is why you have to supplement in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in this case, we're a clinic, people coming in with some sort of like chief complaint or something that they want to work on. But again, herbs being somewhere in between eating properly and pharmaceutical intervention, we have an agenda, whether that's anxiety and stress, whether it's fertility, whether it's aches and pains. We got to start somewhere. And one of the things I like to indicate to patients is that, yeah, you could take a bunch of stuff over the counter. And there is, the one thing that I find is kind of like controversial as a statement is how much of that supplement are you absorbing? Some people say, oh, you just have expensive urine, right? If you're over supplementing,
Yeah.
you're taking too much of a vitamin, you'll pee it out. Or even if the quality of the product's important too. So quality matters. Our herbs are whole products. They are the whole plant. They are processed because they come in pill form, but it is the whole plant, right? So we want to get the whole thing in there, and together they have a strategy. But when you're talking about that, you have to indicate that it's because people, well, what herb? I'm like, it's not just one herb. There's anywhere from 2 to 17.
Yeah.
If you take like something like Tianwan Bushidan, that's like killing a chicken with a atomic bomb. Everything's in that.
And maybe you can talk to the audience about that, because I don't think they understand the strategy, right? Like in Chinese medicine, how yeah, the emperor herb, the assistant
Yeah.
administrator, that all these
Yeah.
things. Because when you take a supplement, right, like people are generally taking supplements because either their doctor told them they're deficient in something,
Right.
or they want to feel better, right? Whether it's real or not, maybe they saw an ad, but the truth of the matter is they don't really know what's going on.
Mhm.
Like people take turmeric.
Well,
for
Dr.
inflammation.
Google, right? Would a
Right.
Dr. Google sell them something that's popular, not the right thing? Right?
Exactly, but they don't know the mechanism, right? When they say inflammation, like most people don't know, in certain cases, an inflammatory process can be good. They don't understand that inflammation is one of the things before healing happens. It's just when the body gets stuck, right?
Well, inflammation is one part of the condition.
Right.
You have
Well, yeah.
swelling, you have pain, and you also have redness, that's one piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely, but
Right.
because they don't understand the context, it's the same thing like when the herbs, they don't understand that not only are you taking something that benefit you, it was specifically designed to do something specific. So
Mhm.
when you're prescribing it, it's not the same as supplement, because that's just like a random scatter shot that I just wanna feel better, as opposed to each herb, you know, in the materia medica
So,
was designed
yeah.
to do specific things with specific effects.
Right.
So it's like apples and oranges.
Well, when you combine it with other things, you're augmenting those with this. So if we have
Exactly.
like a chief complaint, we'll just say for the sake of argument, pain, right? And yes, inflammation is part of it, but so can spasms, so can circulation, so can things of that nature. So if we're talking about one herb that does one thing that treats inflammation, you can add another herb that piggybacks and does the same thing instead of the one component of the plant, right?
Exactly.
And then you also want to do something for circulation, so you want to do something that kind of opens up the blood vessels. So topical stuff, you could do like vasodilation topically on the area to kind of open up the blood vessels, get the circulation in there. But there's also this aspect of like a slight thinning effect that helps the circulation, like the flow of the blood. One thing is to open up the blood vessels, the other thing is to get the flow of blood in there, and the other thing to manage the pain, reduce the inflammation. So it's it's a strategy. Right? We want to handle a lot of things. We don't want to just, and the other thing too with Chinese medicine, when we talk about illness, it comes in conjunction with other signs and symptoms and patterns, right? So you can have sharp pain, that's acute, that you just threw your back out, that's probably a ride to the emergency room, right? Or there's that chronic dull ache, right? Or it's sharp, you know, or a situation when you use it in certain situations like that. But every one of these conditions has some sort of like strategy, and you know, it's better to do something more comprehensive than just kind of pull stuff off the shelf.
Mhm. What do you, if there's one thing that you could tell like the moms or dads out there in terms of like how to use this knowledge, like, you know, whether, maybe not coming in and running, buying off the shelves, but if you want to, please, but like how they can incorporate this knowledge like very simply into their own lives, like after the podcast?
Well, it's hard to do, right? Because there's very few products out there. There are some, and some people, like, it's very, I have found, so perfect example, Airborne, right? Airborne is a vitamin supplement along with what they call proprietary blend of herbs. A lot of those herbs are some of our top infectious. They're not the top. They don't have to be the top, but they do have some sort of like infectious disease. So they will be antipyretic, but they'll also be kind of like immune boosting in the sense that it'll help the immune system fight off disease instead of just like getting smacked down with a flu.
Yeah.
Right,
And for those of you who don't know, antipyretic means it brings down
yeah,
fever.
so it reduces the fever reducer, but again, anti-inflammatory, antipyretic, that's, just terminology.
Yeah.
But there are some products out there, the best questions are, asked to us, because I don't think you just, by chance, you'll stumble into something. I found like a vitamin supplement, MSM, chondroitin, glucosamine, with bromelain, and somebody had thrown in a bunch of like moving herbs.
Mhm.
A lot of the moving herbs, move cheese, stag dace, chia blood, which tend to be, analgesic, anti-inflammatory, and thinning and moving and stuff like that. But I think it's best not to tackle this by yourself. And,
Right. Speaking of that, I've seen, like, personally, because we all know that herbs are good on their own, but acupuncture plus herbs
yeah,
makes a big difference. And I've seen that, like, a lot of patients, especially those with anxiety, do tend to respond once the acupuncture is combined with the Shiasan. Can you talk to the audience a bit about, like, just a brief intro into Shiasan, like, what it does and how
So
what your symptoms are?
Shiasan can be used for stress, but it's also used for neck pain, right?
Right.
And if you kind of break it down, there are sort of like, so it's sedating, not hypnotic, right? It's not gonna put you to sleep, it's gonna calm you down a little bit. It's gonna work with the central nervous system to calm you down for anxiety. But again, getting back to like multifaceted problems isn't just seldom that just anybody comes in with just anxiety. There is maybe some sort of digestive or some aches and pains that kind of come along with it. So if you think of it as like a medical delivery system, right? Like you have all these herbs that are anti-inflammatory and regulating and analgesic and pain relieving. You know, you can kind of, and then you get them into your system. They're just kind of floating around there, right, ready to be used. If you take the acupuncture and you divert the circulation to the area, you can kind of bring that stuff directly to the areas. I mean, it's subtle, it's elegant, it's brilliant, right? It's noble medicine, you know.
Yeah. So to just recapitulate that. So essentially, by taking the herbs, the patient has like a free reservoir floating in their body of these good, positive, you know,
Yeah.
pain relieving, you know, circulation boosting herbs. And then when you add the acupuncture, you're specifically directing it toward, you know, the neck or the ovaries or the central nervous system. So you can able, not only they can get the general systemic effect, but then the body can get like supercharged by like a localized influx of those herbs at that location.
It's a strategy.
Yeah.
Right? It's a comprehensive strategy. And it's not just one herb, it's a bunch of herbs. So quality really matters here. The formulas that we use are always USDA organic, but they're also, one of the things that people don't realize, ISO 9000, 9001, 9002, these are international quality control standards. So if you have a factory in the US, or if you have a factory in the Far East, these guidelines really dictate what the quality herb is going to be. And the company we use is out of Taiwan. It's not Chinese, it's not mainland China, but it's been around since 1892. But the way it's put together, the way it's manufactured really matters. So your labs have to be clean, and your production system has to be, you know, again, quality standard. And all these things matter for a product. So a lot of times, I know what patients do here. Oh, let me see, what's the herb? They'll take a picture of it and go buy it online. Well, guess what? You're buying sheetrock from China.
I was about to say, can you talk to people about the dangers? Because like, if you don't
Yeah.
get it from a good quality source like
Absolutely.
yourself,
Well, just because it's cheap, it's not good, right? So if you're trying to save yourself a buck, that's fine too. The other thing too is like also is a story about I don't know if you've ever heard about, it was on a ship because I worked in ships. They called this guy to come down and fix something, and he charged them $10,000. And he's like, "Why'd you charge so much?" It's like, well, you know, you could have spent $20,000 to $30,000 just trying to figure out this problem, right? So part of the cost is the expertise behind the formula, getting the right formula, the right one for you.
Yeah.
Because pulling off the shelf, as we got back to the health food store, telling your grandmother to take curcumin, that's not the place to go for medical care or medical opinion or anything. You want somebody who knows what they're doing, and after 20 years, and we like to think we know what we're doing. Maybe if we don't, we've done it and reproduced it multiple times to say that this is effective. So we're not saying we're experts, we're just saying we've done this enough times. It's been reproducible on multiple patients. It's reflected in the reviews online on Google. But
patients will tell me, like, I sleep better because I don't have that mental thing. Oh, my neck is better. It's not that the acupuncture doesn't work, but I've noticed that, like, with the herbs, like, they kind of turn the corner quicker.
Yeah,
like,
you could pay now or you could pay later.
Yeah.
Right? Paying like, I don't know, $50-$60 for an herbal formula is going to save you from, you know, I guess thousands of dollars in fertility treatments.
Yeah.
Right? Or, and here's the thing, we have the modern medical system. Maybe it doesn't cover by insurance, but you'll go to in orthopedics and you'll blow that money on of like just years and wasting your time.
Speaking of which, this is important. I think people need to understand when you say it's a strategy, an important part of that strategy, if I remember correctly, was mitigating side effects. The reason why there are so many different herbs, part of which
that we need to talk about, but yes, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, so if people are like wary about side effects, like, oh, it's herbs, like that's one of the chief differences that I find between that and pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceuticals, it's so potent that you have all these other side effects, and then you have to take another sort of pharmaceutical. But the genius,
constipation for opiate-based, it's nonsense. Or your mental health drugs aren't working, so you got to take more to prevent you from. It's scary, but one of the things I will say is licorice isn't everything. And if you look and you break down licorice, it basically does everything. Maybe not to the like the chief, but it's also augmenting and helping. So it says it harmonizes the formula, but really break down licorice, it has so many properties, maybe on a smaller scale. But if you're talking about, again, getting back to anti-inflammatory or treating pain, you have an anti-inflammatory effect, you have a pain relieving effect, you have a circulatory effect. All of these things matter, and it's not like we're not reinventing the wheel here. These formulas have been out for like thousands of years. Like Shayasang has been around since 932 when the Vikings invaded England and kind of established themselves. And that's something to be said, that it's still effective to this day, and it kind of rocks your world when you hear it over and over again, because people are suffering. There's generalized anxiety and depression. Okay, you hear this all the time. Take the care of a licensed mental health practitioner for you so that you can adhere to the protocol or symptoms. If you have anxiety, depression, it should be under control, right? And if they're not, let us help you out.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Doc, for joining us with some more wisdom, and we'll see you next week.